Hello everybody, my name is Carter Durham. I'm in the Aviation Human Factors class, as all of you are as well. And my term paper and presentation is on the topic of caffeine use and pilots. Before we start, I'd like to get a little hand sanitizer going, everything that's going on right now. But let's jump right into it. So I'll be focusing on, for my paper as well, I focused on the types of consumption and how they can generally affect a pilot and any human that consumes them in different ways. So after doing some research, roughly 64% of Americans consume filter brewed coffee, which is a lot of Americans. It's almost 2/3 of the people consume coffee. And an average cup of coffee, of an 8-ounce cup of coffee, contains about 95 milligrams of caffeine and is the most consumed caffeinated drink nationwide. I'll also be focusing on energy drinks, which actually contains less caffeine per ounce than a cup of coffee would typically on average. An average energy drink like a Red Bull or a Monster is 80 milligrams of caffeine and 8.5 ounces of energy drinks. The big thing with energy drinks that I learned about is that the other ingredients such as taurine, guarana, ginseng, and all the other energy alternatives can have an effect that changes the chemical balances in your body. And also, a lot of these energy drinks have large amounts of sugar that can give your body that false sense of energy boost, and then you crash hard, and that's not good. Finally, caffeine pills. They typically contain 100 to 200 milligrams of caffeine, so they're a lot more intense, a lot more punches packed, and most people can take up to 400, so about 2 or 3 pills, depending on the dosage, without experiencing adverse side effects. So, when you are consuming caffeine, it takes about 1 hour for the caffeine to become active in your body, since it is absorbed through the bloodstream and body tissue. Some of the acute side effects, some short-term side effects through consuming caffeine. For coffee, due to coffee oils being present, it can increase your cholesterol and blood pressure as your body digests it. And since it is a higher fluid quantity than, per se, a caffeine pill, you can experience excessive urination, having to go to the bathroom a lot if you drink too much coffee. And also, due to the fatty oils in coffee, as well as sometimes milk or cream added to it, you can experience nausea when consuming coffee. As for energy drinks, mainly increased urination is your biggest short-term side effect, and the high volumes of sugar gives you that sugar rush, which can turn into a crash, and then also upsetting your stomach, changing the acidic levels in your stomach, which affects your chemical balances in the body, which can affect the way that you think and make decisions. As for caffeine pills, it's possible to actually overdose on caffeine if you take too much of caffeine pills. Your heart will not be able to contain or maintain the amount of blood that your brain is telling you to pump through it, so you could overdose. Caffeine pills have a bit more intense acute effects, such as muscle spasms. You can experience diarrhea and even dizziness from consuming caffeine pills on an empty stomach. So when I took a look at the chronic effects as well, I wanted to look at short-term use. Like, some pilots don't always drink coffee, but here and there they'll drink it. And then you have the everyday users. So after extended and constant use of caffeine, there are very serious symptoms that can develop. The main and most important thing that I learned about was insomnia. It can mess up a pilot's sleep schedule or circadian rhythm, which is a vital aspect in a pilot's lifestyle and a vital part of how a pilot is successful. Being able to get ample amounts of rest is key in being safe and successful when operating an aircraft. So if you drink coffee regularly, your brain can develop insomnia, you won't be able to fall asleep, and it can be really detrimental. You can have also increased blood pressure, which affects the way you handle stress. You can get in a high stress situation and your blood starts pumping more, your heart has to work harder, and that's just using up energy that you can't afford to get rid of when performing a high stress situation. It increases your risk for heart attack in younger people typically. So if you drink coffee super regularly at a younger age, it does increase your risk to have a heart attack. And finally, for a chronic effect, you can develop a dependency to caffeine. It is not chemically addictive, so your body won't experience withdrawals, or you can't get hooked off one cup of coffee, But if you do use it regularly enough, your body can develop a dependency on it, which then you can experience coffee withdrawals or caffeine withdrawals. So now for aviation, a main concern is the development of chronic fatigue, and the International Civil Aviation Organization defines fatigue as a physiological state of reduced mental or physical performance capability resulting from sleep loss or extended wakefulness, circadian phase, or workload. So when you're using caffeine, it really affects your brain and its sensation of being awake or asleep. So timing of when you drink your coffee or when you use your caffeine is really key in developing chronic fatigue. And fatigue is going to affect your decision making, the way you think, the way you act, the way you perform and control the aircraft as well. So, and another danger of having caffeine, I know this only pertains to coffee typically, is it increases your odds to spill. I know you've probably heard there's an article about how a plane had to divert due to a pilot spilling hot coffee in his lap and suffering burns, and he couldn't continue with the flight, so they diverted and emergency landed at another airport. And also having a coffee cup or any beverage at that in your hand while operating an aircraft can distract you from operating the aircraft. Here are my references. Thank you. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay clean.